What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of VR365. I've got a special guest for you guys, but you know what? It's an interesting story that we're going to get into about this guest and how this has happened. We are living in the modern internet era, folks, and you can find somebody on the internet that posts something interesting. Maybe you can hit them up, and then all of a sudden, what do you know? You are on a podcast, and you're doing a podcast, and that's exactly what we're doing. And my special guest is Noam. Noam, how's it going, man?
Good. How
I'm
are
doing
you?
very good. I'm doing very good. Yeah. So here's how I'll do it to explain to you guys. Let's go ahead and switch over to our web browser here as I grab it. And yeah, so there was this particular thread was on the PlayStation VR subreddit. You can see it was submitted 4 days ago by Highlight Notes. And this is the whole reason we're doing this show. Yeah, that is Highlight Notes right there. And the whole reason we're doing this show is just randomly, I was like drinking some coffee and I was like checking out Reddit, and I'm looking at, 2 years after getting PlayStation VR, 1 year after stepping up to the incredible world of PC VR, and now this is his top 40 VR games. And I thought, well, this is interesting because here's a guy started off in the PlayStation VR world, probably caught the VR bug big time, but yeah, and then you moved up to PC VR as well, and you've been doing it for a couple of years. You've tried out a lot of games, and you have these games that you've ranked. And so you haven't ranked them in an actual order, but you just kind of like explain that some of them are PSVR exclusives and stuff. This happened to be in the PlayStation VR subreddit, but it's not necessarily a PlayStation VR thing, right?
Right. It's both. Although I find the PSVR community is a very game-oriented type community, so I find they respond better to discussion about games. But yeah, it's for everyone. And yeah, I divided it in two sections. You have the 1 to 15, and then you have the 16 to 40. But within that, I kind of left it open because I'm not a big favorites hierarchy person.
Yeah, unlike me. VR game rankings, that's all I do. No, it's okay.
Totally
It's hard.
reasonable.
It's arbitrary. It's arbitrary, right? Really.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll like do a little ranking, but yeah, I like keeping it a little open and ambiguous.
The only way that you could do it to rank games, like if you were to try to rank these games in order, what you would have to do is you'd have to imagine, okay, imagine that you can erase your memory. So you have no memory of any of these games, and you can only experience one of them again with a fresh memory.
Right.
And then you just keep going through the list until you've eliminated everything, and eventually you'll end up with some kind of order. But honestly, you really would have to like take it with you on the beach and like examine it and think about it for a long time, trying to put these games into an actual order. But the reason why Noam is on the show today, guys, is because I was looking at all the games that he listed, and I was amazed that there were so many games that are kind of flying under the radar a little bit, but they really speak to me. That's why I wanted to do this episode. For example, I saw a trend. There was a trend throughout his list. Okay, so I'm looking at Paper Beast, The Solus Project, XING The Land Beyond, Transference, No Man's Sky, Oregon Quarter, Static, 1111, Arca's Path, Moss, virtual reality. Basically, the theme that we're getting here is a lot of these games are like some of the most atmospheric games that VR has on offer, period. And you have so many of them in here, and so many of them are like my favorite as well. So when I saw all this, I was like, wow, this guy really likes a lot of the same stuff I like. Me and this guy could talk about this stuff for a while. And then the other thing that really caught me off guard is the #1 response to this thread here is by this guy Shadow Creeper 15, and he says, no Beat Saber, Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, Skyrim, Firewall Zero Hour, Half-Life Alyx. No way, man, you're missing way too many games. And so we're going to talk about that aspect as well. And maybe even more interesting than all of that is at one point, Highlight Notes talks about Half-Life Alyx, and calls it a magic trick or something like that. So we're going to get into that.
Something to that effect.
And yeah, it's going to be exciting to talk about all of this. But basically, we're going to kind of do a love fest on what we think are some of the most atmospheric, drop dead gorgeous games that just blow you away. Speaking of atmosphere, speaking of like vibe and stuff, right now on the screen, I have this thing called Alex's Sci-Fi World, which I believe is available in Museum of Other Realities. And was that one of the games you listed as well here?
Yeah, it was, and it's a really beautiful. Like, there's so many beautiful art exhibits in the museum. I know it's kind of like daunting, I think, for people to spend like $20, and it's like, oh, a museum. Like, why do I want to go into a museum in VR? But it's like the most engaging museum I've ever been in real life or virtual reality. It's just like you step into these creations that are just beautiful spaces, and that's one of them there that I think you also tried.
Yeah,
But,
this
is that
yeah
right?
this this little piece of work right here, this artistic expression. It's interesting because it's like a living, breathing piece of art, basically, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And you can walk around inside it, and you know there the music and the sounds, and like there's people like smoking cigarettes and the smoke, like just everything.
yeah.
It's like a serious vibe. And why is it that always when things have a really good vibe, it's like raining or something? What is it about that?
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I think rain it has such a sound quality, and it has a texture, it has a sound, uh, and it just totally like swaddles you in its atmosphere. Like it's immediately around you, and so I think that's an interesting comment to how atmosphere plays a role in this whole
Yeah.
ordeal.
Also, another thing I've noticed is wet surfaces, like wet streets and stuff. When you have like
Yeah.
neon lights with like wet streets,
Yeah, the light reflection, it's like it comes alive with water reflection, right? Neon, yeah,
absolutely, it's a
absolutely.
major factor. Another thing I did want to mention to anybody that's in chat, let me know if our audio is okay. I don't want to be like ridiculously too loud, or Noam is ridiculously too low or anything like that. So just let us know if anything's I can adjust our audio. And Alex tries really hard, says audio is good, sounds good here. So I think everything's good as far as
Cool.
that goes. All right, well, why don't we go ahead and get
That's
into
better.
the love fest, man? Because that's what we're here for,
Sounds good.
and we want to give a lot of love and respect. Really, one of the things we want to do is we want to take a look at some of these hidden gems that just don't get the love that they deserve. And the first one up is Arca's Path. And here's a game that came out, I think, very late in 2018. Developer is Dream Reality Interactive. Rebellion handled the publishing on this. And this game will remind people of like Marble Madness, where you know you're controlling a thing and you're rolling it around, and you got to be careful that you don't roll it off, and that sort of thing. It's definitely a puzzle game. It definitely has a vibe to it. I don't know that this game was like very successful financially or anything like that.
Yeah, I think it had very mixed reception. Both like some people really liked it. I think some people were like very down on it, and I don't get the impression it took off in any
Yeah. Yeah,
public way.
it's unfortunate
Unfortunately.
because you have
Yeah.
developers like Dream Reality Interactive. They spend all this time and money, and they really think they like did something really awesome in VR. And personally, I think they did do something really awesome in VR. And for whatever reason, it doesn't hit with the audience out there. And then
Yeah.
there's a limited audience in the beginning. I guess one thing, a studio like Dream Reality Interactive, maybe they can hope that as VR continues to find an audience, people will go back and look for hidden gems like this.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, you have that I think with like consoles and where we kind of like look back on some games that are become hidden. It kind of like some games grab a cult following as they go along, kind of a slow roll gathering steam. So yeah, you can hope that some of these games will achieve something like that.
I
in
mean, that's
retrospect.
what they gotta hope for at this point, and we hope for it as well because we believe that
Yeah.
this is a quality title. So, Noam, one of the things I can tell you about this game, why I think a lot of people don't give this game a chance, is in the hardcore VR game enthusiast realm. Basically,
Yeah.
whenever they find a game that like uses the actual headset for part of the control,
Right.
yeah,
Head
it's
tracking.
like a
Yeah.
complete
Yeah.
and utter turnoff. But for me, and it was for me actually, for the first like 5 minutes I was playing this, I was like, God damn it,
Yeah.
I can't go into the menu and find a controller, you know.
Right.
But the thing is, after a while, you get accustomed to it, and it actually is a very good mechanism for controlling this rolling ball. You can control it quite accurately, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I also like found it a bit weird like the first few minutes, and then yeah, you kind of adjust. And I found it very accurate, very effective as a controlling method. I can imagine that there's a few people that might get some neck trouble or something because they're all always moving your head around in like precise movements. I actually I actually struggle with some like neck pain sometimes, but in this case I didn't have any trouble. Um, so take that as you will. I think there's an interesting comment I have actually about the fact that it's controller free. You tried the Quest, right? Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and this might seem like an odd comparison at first, but in terms of like building atmosphere and in terms of building vibe, I don't know about you, but when I tried the Quest just for a couple of weeks, and when I first tried it, I got the hand. I was like super excited for the hand tracking, right? And so I put the controllers down, and all of a sudden I just have my hands free in space, and like it just felt so light and free. And something I think about this game, because you don't need your controllers, you can put them aside. Um, you're just very light, and it allows I think your presence to be more in the game. At least that was my
Yeah, no,
experience.
that it's you're exactly right. Is I actually just played this game, Arca's Path, hadn't played it for the longest time. And I knew that we were going to
Yeah.
do this episode and we are going to talk about atmospheric games and like hidden gems and stuff. And I knew we wanted to talk about this one just a little bit. And I fired this up because I hadn't tried it in a while and I wanted to revisit it and make sure was it just like I kind of liked it initially, but maybe I
Yeah.
don't really like it.
Sure.
And no, I like this game from multiple angles. And one of the angles is I can set my controllers on the ground. The controllers can turn off, and you could go
Yeah.
like this, and you could just you're moving your head around. Now the thing is, if there is a negative about this game, it is your neck. You are going to be doing slight
Uh-huh.
little
Sure.
movements and going like this and doing that to control your guys, slow it down, speed it up.
Yeah.
So you are, but I found that when I was doing, I mean, you'd have to play it for like an hour or something. And I don't, a game like this, are you really going to play it for an hour chunk? Maybe you play it for a good 45 minutes. You get through a couple
Yeah.
levels and you come back and try it again later.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a short game overall. Like I think I don't remember exactly, but I'm gonna guess like 3 hours. Right on the short side. It's not that short, but short side. So it's like yeah, I think it's nice to split it up into a few chunks, and it's not like addicting in the sense that you like need to keep playing uh, all the time. Um,
Well,
but yeah, it has such.
no, I
Oh
was
yeah,
just
go
gonna
ahead.
say,
Go ahead.
what did you think about the visual style of the game and the way they did the audio, kind of more of an atmospheric style of audio, and the way things like sprung to life, but it's kind of this like, it's a Paradise Decay. There's a guy we
Yeah.
know called Paradise Decay, so I just wanted to say that. Yeah.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, you read my mind because that's exactly what I wanted to go into was the kind of just design of it all. Yeah, one of the things I just love about this is like it's kind of a minimalist style almost, but all those pieces like in that minimalist uh, ingredients list are like so tightly knit together. Like you have uh, I think when you think about designing a game, you have to think about scope and you have to like think about like what can we do as developers and how do we design this? And I think my feeling is like they really they determined their scope and then they built everything to like fit it like perfectly. And like so it's like they have this minimalist style. They have this like pop in that's like that they've built into the aesthetic of the game and to enhance that, the audio is almost like it almost feels like it's part of that aesthetic. It's like this kind of glitchy, like from what I remember, it's like this kind of almost like glitchy kind of relaxing, but kind of
weird, kind of
energetic.
frayed and
Yeah,
like electric and like kind
afraid.
of like
Yeah, yeah, electric.
spasmic.
Exactly.
Yeah, it
Yeah, and yeah, just all like it all kind of fits together in this really wonderful way. So I really just love the aesthetic design for
Yeah,
this
it's
piece.
unique. There's nothing that looks quite exactly like this, and it is chill. And because you don't
Yeah,
have the controllers, although controlling this thing as you get into the more advanced levels and you have to make more advanced maneuvers, you are going to have to be pretty precise, and you're going to have to be
yeah,
careful, and you're going to have to take chances, and you're going to your guy's going to fall off the edge a lot, and you're going to have to start over again. But and then you can collect the crystals and all of that and try to get time trial runs for all these levels. I haven't actually completely finished this, but I almost never finish
sure,
anything. I'm notorious for it.
sure.
But yeah, this game has a great vibe. It's a comfort food kind of a game, I think. Like if you just want to
Well,
relax and sit down, you know.
I think it straddles an interesting because it absolutely can be like that comfort food, and I think they like squeezed all the juice out of the concept in terms of like enabling that speed running. Like the levels are great for like speed running if you want to get into that, and like but also they're great for just kind of relaxing and taking it through. But there's also a kind of this visual story on display there's a kind of abstract story that's told completely visually. And I can understand if a lot of people like don't get engaged or that interested in it, or they don't understand it. But to me, I found it very impactful. Kind of, I could talk a lot about the story, but I don't know if that's where we want to go.
Well, we got a lot of games to talk
Um,
about. So you know what? The
yeah,
last
yeah,
thing
yeah,
I'll say about this game is you talked about the Oculus Quest, and it's like this probably should be on the Quest. Like, don't you think? Because
yeah,
graphically, I think it's simple enough that you could get it on the Quest, and also the
yeah,
Quest is so focused at like casual type people. This is ideal for you. Just put this on grandma. Now grandma's neck's going to have a kink in it the
yeah,
next day, but you know, you could give this to
sure.
grandma or your mom or something and just say, hey, there's no buttons. You just move your head, and you know, see that little arrow under the ball that controls your ball. Just try moving it around. Now they're probably going to, you know, they're not going to be very good at it, but like anybody could try it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I think someone in the comments, if I can find, I don't know who it was. I think someone on the comments said this would be terrible for Quest. But I agree with you. I think they said that because it's like, oh, you're not using any hands, you're not using any controllers, you're not walking around the room. But that doesn't. I mean, you don't have to utilize those things. Like just, you don't have to utilize every feature on the Quest for something to be great. Yeah, it's you still get to have a free head, like wireless head. And exactly like you said, I don't think it's too heavy on the graphics department. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean I don't know how difficult it would be to optimize. But it seems like something that would fit nicely in the Quest
Yeah.
system, and that ability to pick up and play, like you
All
said.
the games that I've been seeing that they've squeezed onto the Quest, they could absolutely squeeze this onto the Quest. They got it running on
Right.
place.
Yeah.
This is on PlayStation VR, right? As well, yeah.
It's on. I
Yeah.
believe it's on both. Yeah, PlayStation VR, PC VR. I played it on PlayStation
Yeah.
VR.
Okay.
But yeah, I believe
All
it's both.
right. Well, let's go ahead and we got a lot of incredible games, and
Onwards.
we're also gonna talk about some really big games that didn't make your cut, because that's interesting as well. It's like
Okay, yeah,
why did
yeah.
these games not make the cut? But what I want to talk about now is another incredible hidden gem. And oh my God, when I saw this game in your list, I was like, yes, because there's so few people out there that even know that Bound exists, much less have tried it, much less really appreciate it for what I think it's just visually. I think it's dynamic. I mean, this was one of the earliest VR games I played, because I think I was playing this right when the PlayStation VR came out. Like, I think it was one of the
Yeah.
earliest games that was available, and I was absolutely mesmerized by this thing. This is one of the reasons I've fallen in love with VR, period, because see, you got this ballerina, this like alien ballerina that's dancing around and stuff, and she's like right in front of you at certain times. You can kind of change
Yeah.
you change your camera angle a little bit, or depending on where you move, like she'll be really close to you or farther away. I think they automatically control the camera angle, but if you
There's a
yeah
few options. I think you can, but yeah, I forget what the different options are, but yeah,
But there
basically.
is a way where you can get it where she's like 4 feet away from you and she's like right in front of you,
Right.
and it seems like
Yeah.
a person is standing there. Like it seems like
Yeah.
the body size, the dimension, like it's rare because I'm in a lot of VR games where they will have a full size human character that's like talking to me or something, but a lot of times
Yeah.
the dimensions are off for me. But with this, like she
Yeah.
was like, yeah, that's like a young lady that's like kind of skinny, petite ballerina that looks exactly like that, and she's dancing around and she's it seemed like she was really occupying physical space, like I could practically grab her. And what about this incredible surreal world that you're running through?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, it's really cool. It's one of the most, I think, crisp and visually, like the visual fidelity on this game. Even on, like, I think it's probably one of the best looking games on the original PS4, let alone the PS4 Pro. Like, it just somehow it looks gorgeous, like just super clear. And yeah, but and then yeah, just the atmosphere, like the visual design is so mesmerizing between the character and the all the little pieces that like kind of are alive almost.
Yeah,
Um,
a lot of one of the things I've noticed about a lot of these games where they really have this emotional, powerful effect on you in this kind of a way is
yeah,
like the world almost seems dreamlike. It's like you could have
yeah,
had a
yeah,
dream where you were in some really weird world that looked very similar to that, and it's like something
yeah.
about that just kind of like brings you into that experience that much more.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this before our chat. I was like kind of writing down a few notes on like on what I think of some of these things, and one of the things that came to mind is just the concept of like in a dream. I think as you say, like kind of everything is constantly in motion in a dream. I feel like at least maybe in my dreams. I don't know. Like it never feels like things are quite stable. And I think one of the really uh, immersive qualities of a title like this and some of the other titles on the list is that there's a lot of motion, and they kind of you're never quite like it's always activating your mind. It's like uh, you're looking off into the distance and there's something moving, and it's like kind of surprises you a little bit, uh, and it's not like surprising you in a kind of obscene way, or I don't know, that's not the right word, but it's not surprising you in some ridiculous way, but it's kind of just like touching touching your energy up a little bit, and to be like look at this, and like there's something here, and it's like keeping you engaged at every moment, and in my experience.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's well, I mean, in VR, every game is going to completely surround you, right? But it's the ones that have
Right.
like an interesting especially if it's beautiful, a beautiful backdrop that is
Yeah,
surrounding you, and if the music and sound effects are atmospheric, and sometimes less
yeah,
is more in that regard. Sometimes just more
absolutely.
atmospheric sounds and stuff. Like Arca's Path is very atmospheric at times. Sometimes that game would almost get silent for short periods, and then the music would come back in. Bound was very interesting. I mean, the thing about Bound that really mesmerized me is you would be just like these like the undulating sea of like digital little square things. Like
Yeah,
it's you're living in a hologram or something. It's just a trippy kind of a world to be in.
yeah,
It's very like you could be on some kind of you're getting a psychedelic experience, but you're completely sober, and you're going through this pretty amazing world. But a lot of people will say that this is not a game. There's no game here really. You're
right.
just dancing around. What do you say to that? Are you like, well, maybe it's not a game, but it's a damn good experience?
Yeah, I definitely think it straddles the line between what we could call a game versus an experience. I wasn't like super engaged by the gameplay either. Like I didn't get bored, I wouldn't say, but I did find like I was like, yeah, at like 2 hours into the game or whatever. I forget how long. I think it was like 2 or 3 hours, but like towards the end of the game, I was starting to feel like, yeah, I kind of hit the limit of like what this character can how this character can express, and I don't have like a lot left to do in terms of like mechanically just kind of expressing this character. And so I can see that. Like, yeah, there's not a lot of game mechanic here, um, but I think what 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 makes up for it to me, and what makes it so engaging is that uh, like I said, like there's so much visual information. There's so much to absorb in the world, and it's so present. Uh, I think going back to like Arca's Path and connecting it here, it's like you have these worlds that are so aesthetically cohesive. It's like they might not be realistic in any way, uh, but like everything kind of just works together, and it creates a complete picture. And I want to be there, and so I enjoy
And
it.
when you're in the world, you really forget about you really forget about everything else, and you're just really in the world because it is
Yeah,
this like it's so artistic. That's the thing with a game like Bound is like if this artistic stuff doesn't really do anything for you, then yeah, like 40 minutes later you're going to be like this sucks. This is boring, you
sure.
know, but if there's
Yeah,
different type of
yeah,
people, right? You know, some people this just
absolutely.
doesn't do that much for them. Other people they're like, "Wow, it's a religious experience," you know, but
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's an interesting point, and yeah, I think it's totally reasonable to have like different uses for VR, different feeling. You know, people are going to get different things out of it, and they're going to want different things. I think that's totally reasonable. So I totally get why someone might not might open this up and be like, yeah, this is the most boring thing ever. I think it's interesting how like the comment on like getting lost in it, feeling like you have the sense of time to spend in it, because I think that is one thing that maybe is connected in terms of like what kind of game are you looking for. Like a lot of people nowadays are unfortunately like just pushed to like their mind always has to be looking to the next thing. It's like they have so much work, or they have so much, there's so many stresses right now in the world. It's like, and I find sometimes I'll pop into a VR game and I'll be holding on to some of that stress, and I won't feel. It'll be much harder to feel in the space of that VR game. But then another day I'll like come in and I'll be feeling so fresh, and it's like I look around and it's like wow, and it might be the same game even, but it's like wow, I'm here. And so I think it's an interesting comment on like yeah, where we all are in our lives in terms of our privilege to be able to spend time in it and to be relaxed and to be it. It is kind of like a privilege to
you know
do
what's
that, I think.
interesting what you brought up there is one of the I actually asked you a question in the thread before I like asked you to
Yeah,
come on the show, and one of the questions I was asking you about was like cuz one thing I've noticed about games like this is where yeah, everything is so hectic and sometimes you get into a very atmospheric kind of VR world and you just kind of
yeah,
like you almost get in like as you continue to play it and you forget where you are and you're just lost in the world and you're like really present with it. I'm not saying presence like you're feeling present, but you're present in that world. and
sure.
and I would have like I would think a lot of like deep type thoughts, you know, like really
Yeah, right. I remember. Yeah, I
probing,
remember getting
like
comments about
super
that.
deep style thoughts.
Yeah,
And I've always wondered if other people kind of did that too. And maybe somebody like you,
yeah.
because you are so much into all these different atmospheric games. I wonder if, have you ever gotten that where there's almost like a meditative quality to like being in some of these games?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think a little bit. It's such an individual experience, but like I definitely can find myself like just engaged in thought, whether it's in conversation with the game that I'm experiencing or just kind of wandering off. It's almost like shower thoughts. It's like
Yeah.
when you get into the shower and like sometimes a lot of people describe how their mind drifts off, and it's interesting comparison because like in the shower it's like you're kind of just blanketed in this sensory kind of experience that hopefully is kind of relaxing for a lot of people. And I think it's kind of a similar thing in a way where you kind of something about it can make you just kind of totally opens your mind up a little bit to just wander a bit, which is
Yeah,
wonderful.
and Bound is definitely one of these games. Never has come to any other platforms. It's only been on PlayStation VR.
I know,
Doesn't get
it's
a lot of love.
unfortunate.
All these games, I'll tell people out there, if you ever can get these games for like super cheap on some kind of sale, it's a
Sure.
great idea to do that because a lot of these games are older games. Okay, so the next game I want to
Yeah.
go to, we've been talking about games with really good vibes, really like kind of, well, this one is kind of a weird world that you're kind of back and forth,
Yes.
but these have mostly
Yeah.
been bright, sunny locales that we've looked at. Well,
Yeah.
actually, Arca's Path was a little bit of a crazy paradise as
They
well.
both have a little mix, but definitely, I know where you're going
Yeah.
with this, man. We're definitely taking a
Here's
turn.
where we're going. We're going to a completely different area. We are going to Oregon Quarter, which I was amazed again when I saw this on your list, because when I think of horror games, like I've tried a lot of different horror games in VR, because horror games and VR is like butter and toast. You know, I mean, it just goes together absolutely perfectly. We've seen just some absolutely amazing horror games in VR. And this is one that if you ask the average VR gamer what's his top 5 horror games, you're probably not going to hear about Oregon Quarter. And it's unfortunate, because it's probably just because the person didn't hear about it and they never got a chance to try it. And also, this might be one of these types of games, again, where you've got to, it's like the game seeps into you over a little bit of time.
Yeah.
You know, like you might not play it for a half an hour and immediately understand why I'm in love with this game in a certain way. The one thing I always say about Oregon Quarter, Noam, is I always say that it is just so, it's so hopeless. It has this feeling of like just being hopeless, and it's just like a bleak, just awful place. You know, there's just something of like, I feel like I know this. This is a really good example for a dream that you might have, where you have
Right.
like a recurring dream that's like, whenever you're there, it's kind of a bad, evil place, and it bothers you, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh shit, I'm back in this dream where I'm back in this place. I've been here before. And Oregon Quarter's like that. How did you feel when you first discovered this one?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with what you said. And it's actually, I have a question for you, because I was very interested to know this. Have you played Silent Hill 2 or 3? Because this game is very influenced by those games. And so I wonder, like,
Yeah, I played.
since you love it so much, I'd be especially interested if you haven't played them, or if you
No, I
have played them.
have played them.
Yeah.
I played Silent Hill 1, but I didn't finish it
Okay.
all the way. But I played Silent Hill 1 quite a bit, and then I played Silent Hill 2, I think on the original Xbox, maybe. I think it came out on the original Xbox at one point, and I got it on there, and I played that, but I didn't play it all the way through. But yeah, no, this definitely does have some of that feel, where it's like you're in this weird place.
Yeah.
It's oppressive. You just feel it bearing down on you. But you know what I think is actually the most interesting, or not the most interesting aspect of Oregon Quarter, but it's something that helped make it that more impactful for me, is the fact that you're basically in this twisted apartment complex. And I've lived in apartment complexes that were not unlike this one in certain ways.
Right.
And honestly, I think that's one of the reasons why it's like, this is a familiar ass place. It's a bleak ass place. This is 2020, folks. This is 2020 way before 2020 ever happened.
No, I think it's an amazing point. It reminds me of this very little game, not VR, called Anatomy. And it takes place in this house, and it's kind of also like a horror kind of game. And the whole thing takes place in this house, and it's just so, I won't go into it too much, but it's just so, it just hits you. Like, it just, you feel it. And I think there is something about like being in a place that has some familiarity, and it's like, it maintains that familiarity, but it's also distorted, and it's so uncomfortable. And it really seeps into you, like you said. Yes, and I think this doesn't. I don't want to bring in like Silent Hill 2 and 3 too much, because I think it would be unfair to the game, Oregon Quarter, to talk about that so much, because I think this stands on its own as its own game and its own experience. But it does carry some of that vibe so well, in terms of like, I think Silent Hill 2 and 3 both. Those are the ones I played. They both like just have this sense of place that is like disturbed, but also, at least for me, it felt like familiar but disturbed, and I think it captures that vibe just so incredibly while delivering its own kind of experience, and it just really hits you.
What would you say to like, some people might look at this stuff, like if I was going to try to think of negative things to say about this, I mean, graphically, it's not like a powerhouse or anything, right? I mean, the rooms are very simplistic, like the refrigerators,
Yep.
the sinks. I mean, everything is incredibly basic. So like I could see
Yep.
somebody coming in, like look at the textures and stuff. I mean, it's incredibly plain and everything.
Yep.
I could see somebody like playing it for a little while and be like, this is too freaking amateur. But you know what? They're making a freaking mistake, man. Because
Yeah, and it's
no,
yeah,
go ahead, go ahead.
go ahead. Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, it's like even though yeah, I totally agree. It's like you have these like kind of low fidelity kind of textures and very simple, you know, graphics, and but it works. Like I'm gonna probably keep bringing this up, but it creates a world successfully. To me, it's a believable space, and like so, you know, as it's like if you think about like older games, there's tons of older games that are like, you know, 10, 15 years old that are like regarded as just like classics by a lot of people, and those are, you know, they don't have like high fidelity graphics, they're not like HD, but they capture the space that they want to capture so well, and so I don't think it matters that it, to me at least, that it doesn't have like this beautiful texture but I don't mean to just be all positive. Like, yeah, there's like places where you could be like, oh, maybe that could look a little nicer or that could look a little better. But I guess I would direct it away from it wouldn't be a criticism of like, oh, this should have like a better texture, but like, oh, maybe this texture doesn't quite fit here. Like, you know, I'm sure there's different issues, or like some interactivity, like it's kind of dry in terms of like how you interact with things. Like it's you kind of just like kind of put your hand up to something, if I remember right, and kind of like press the button, and like, so it's like, sure, like I could see that being an improvement if you improve that. But yeah, there's so many wonderful aspects of the game. I think I don't feel a need to spend a lot of
Yeah,
time.
for people that this type of game speaks to, it really freaking
Yeah.
speaks to those people. You know what I mean? But now the
Yeah.
developer
Yeah.
of this game is Outer Brain Studios, and they like did a Kickstarter and everything to do this game originally, and it came out in October of 2017, and Outer Brain Studios since then they've done another game, but it wasn't VR. So this is one of these cases where, because a lot of people will talk about Oculus, how Oculus has this money that they throw around. You know, they have money that they can give different developers to like help them publish different games. And I think this is a case where someone like an Oculus should see the potential of a studio like this and be like, wow, you did a really amazing thing on your very first VR effort. You know, maybe this would be a company that you could fund and get a more advanced another horror game from them as well. But yeah.
Yeah, it's such a challenge of like distribution of funds. Like developers have such a hard time, I think, in the current climate. Like I'm an artist, and so I have some familiarity with the challenge of being a small little artist trying to make your way. And it's like some of these games are so wonderful, and they you know, they cost money to make, and they have to pay people, and they have to like spend a lot of time on this stuff. And man, when it doesn't make money, you know, they might, like, I don't know anything about the developer on any personal level. I haven't done any research into them, but like I would imagine they probably like enjoy VR. They probably would enjoy making another VR game, but I wouldn't be surprised if like they have to like consider like, can we afford that? It's like, so it's like, yeah, like I wish, like it's part of why I love doing this. It's like I want to get some people hearing about these games because they're just wonderful, and I hope money can be distributed to them in some way.
Yeah. This is another case where you got to hope that it will become this cult classic that people will know about later. And they'll be like, yeah, I always hear about Oregon Quarter. I always hear about Oregon Quarter. And then they go back and buy it.
Yeah.
And, you know, as long as they can realize, like, a lot of the games that we're mentioning, these are not tour de forces in graphics and stuff like that. So, like, these are older VR games. These came out a while ago. So somebody that's playing all the most latest recent games with really high production value, these games might come off a little bit janktacular for you in certain ways. But they do have this special feeling that you get when you play them that is just very hard to describe. So those are three really great games with really great atmosphere. Now what I wanted to do is, in that thread, they mentioned, of course, Half-Life Alyx, which this year is probably the biggest VR game I would think that came out this year. Yeah. And it's one of the biggest VR games that have come out ever. It might be, like, it might have sold more copies than any other VR game. I'm not sure exactly how the numbers line up for that. But definitely one of the leaders in terms of visuals and production value, great physics and stuff like that, although some of that is faked a little bit, and we can talk about some of that.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting, so you didn't have this in your top 40, and there's a couple of ways, and you also said that there's an aspect of it where it's like a magic trick. Let's go to that first. So explain the magic trick thing.
Well, sure. I just want to first say it's I do when someone is first trying VR, I still recommend this game. It's I think it's a fun game. I think it's very accessible. I think that's great. But I'm also very genuine when I don't put on my top 40 list. It doesn't fit on my top 40 list for me. But yeah, so the magic trick comment was actually a comment that someone else made, but I kind of quoted it in that thread. Because I do feel like it makes a lot of sense and it speaks to me, and I think when we so if we go back to what I kept bringing up, you have these cohesive worlds, and for a magic trick to work, you need to believe in it. You have to the magician has to hide the trick as soon as you know how they're doing it, as soon as you see it, you're kind of pulled out a bit of it, and you're like, oh, well, it's it can totally ruin it. Even it can be interesting from an analytical perspective, oh, this is cool to find out how this person did it, but you're like all of a sudden you're not engaged in the magic of it. To me, Half-Life Alyx, it's got the production value. I'm not super into the aesthetic, but it does have beautiful world, beautiful art, and I felt it looks great in that way, and it has high quality sound production, music production. But where the world kind of really falls apart to me, and where the trick kind of falls apart to me, is in a few key areas, I guess. One is the not just the linearity of it, but the feeling of a scripted linearity. I throughout most of the game, I felt like I'm in a script. It was I could when I forget the names of the walkie buddy. Do you know his name? Russell.
Yeah, I think so. Right? Russ, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes Russell or Alex, the character you're playing as, will comment on something in the world, and it's I've already seen that, or I haven't seen it yet, and it's that's a small thing, but it's if the character comments on something that's in the world and I've either already seen it or I haven't seen it yet, I'm why is this character telling me about this thing that I haven't even looked at, or I've already looked at 20 seconds ago, but and also just I experienced so many it sounds a little arrogant to say maybe, but I feel so familiar with the script already. It kind of follows a familiar path to me. It's I've heard this story before, and so that's one thing. So that's one thing. The other big thing I would say is the player expression. And in Half-Life Alyx, I find there's very little player expression, and also very little AI expression. And this also kind of goes into the level design, and it's I'm confronted with these rooms that are very straightforward. There's an enemy here. I have to shoot it. I have one gun, maybe, or maybe a couple different guns I can use. It's so straightforward. I can't use melee. I can't there's not a lot of mobility. You're kind of restricted to just walking, so I don't have expression in my mobility. I don't have expression in like a lot of creative weaponry. I don't have expression in like, so it's like, so I compare it to Boneworks a lot. Which as a game I like more. I think you made it into my top 40. I'm not in love with it, but I do enjoy it. I like the aesthetic, and I like and it's a really fun playground. And in that game, there's so much player expression, and so I contrast that a lot. It's like yeah, it's a little janky and like kind of a little weird sometimes, but you can really you can enjoy. You can it's like a playground. You can do all kinds of things, and it's like Half-Life Alyx is like the polar opposite. It's so linear in terms of its level design and also in terms of its gameplay design.
Yeah, especially like when you're like when you're reloading your gun or you're upgrading your gun or you're getting your health, it's like you're going to these same things over and over again, you know, and I guess you kind of have to do that if you're going to have like a mainstream game that, you know, that
Sure.
has to appeal to everybody. You have to have these like standard things in it, but it does take away from the game. One of my biggest disappointments with this game was something incredibly simple. My fans, like the people, like when this game came out, one of the things that bothered me the most about this game, because I love getting caught up in immersion and like really being immersed in the world, and this is an immersive game. But right there, when that door just opened a split second ago, the way all the doors work in this game bother the living crap out of me, because you open the door, or if you push a door open, what happens is you push the door open, it goes a certain distance off of your push, and then at a certain point, it's like something in the game automatically grabs the door and just, you know, puts it in its spot. And it's like, it's bothersome, man, because like when I'm in Boneworks, I push a door. In Boneworks, I could take my shoulder and like lean against a door, and a door will creak exactly as much. And in Boneworks, you're never pushing a door and then it automatically takes over and locks the door. And I know that's such an incredibly simple thing, but it's one of these things where I looked at it and I noticed it and I'm like, why? Because there is some good physics in this game, but at the same time,
it's limited. It's within a construct.
It seems like what the physics is, it's like they have these individual objects. They gave physics for the individual objects, but it's not like the world has an entirely cohesive physics system that everything's built upon. So it's almost like when you think about, like just the other day I was watching a video of like one of these new Madden football games, and they always have the players like animating perfectly, like it's like they took it off of a camera, like it's just perfect, right? But the animations are like one animation connecting to another animation, you know what I mean? You can tell that it's fake, and it's just there's a little bit of that fakeness. And then for me, the other thing that really bothered me with this was like the rinse and repeat in terms of how you get your ammo and just all that type
absolutely
of stuff.
that too. A lot of like management that kind of gets a little tiresome, just resource management. I think the comment like about the cohesion, so it's like that's exactly what I mean. So it's like when I was talking about the scope of Arca's path, like it's a small scope, and they knew their scope, and they designed it all around that scope. And I think, like, to be clear, I think it's wonderful that you know, a lot, you know, obviously they put a lot of love and a lot of money into this game, and they tried to do something really big and really appealing and also really accessible. I think those are all wonderful things. But like you have these objects, you know, it has this realist kind of aesthetic, and you have these objects scattered around, and as soon as those objects are there, as a choice that those are there, they don't have to be there. As soon as they're there, I want them to feel like they're part of the world, like in a complete way. And as soon as they're not completely part of that world, as soon as that door doesn't quite open right, or as soon as that bucket doesn't work as a melee weapon, it takes me out, and I guess I'm just very affected by that.
Do you think part of that was like just the incredible hype of this, like, you know, greatest VR game ever, or great, you know, whatever, but, you know, the whole Valve thing is part of, like, because, I mean, think about it. We just talked about Oregon Quarter a minute ago, the textures in Oregon Quarter. I mean, this is like what someone,
But in Oregon Quarter, you don't have like boxes like that laying around that you're like, oh, I want to pick that up and use it as a melee weapon. Like it doesn't present you with that, and I think that's a good thing because it knows it can't present you with that and allow you to do with it what you want. So Oregon Quarter is very smart in how it's designed in the way that it only the things that are in the world have a place in the world. And in Half-Life Alyx, I feel like some of the things in the world don't have a place in the world.
One aspect of Half-Life Alyx, since the topic that we're on here is atmosphere, we're on this topic of atmosphere and vibe. And the one thing I will say about Half-Life Alyx, like if you want to go to the horror side of the coin, later in the game, how much of this did you play? Did you play all the way through?
Okay. I finished it. I almost didn't, but I did finish it.
I actually, this is one of the rare ones that I finished as well, just because I had to, right?
Cool.
But there's this one level where you're like going through a hotel. You know the level I'm talking about? It's towards the end of the game.
Actually, that was one of my favorite ones. Is that the museum or the hotel? Like there's like this museum-y, like, or maybe I'm thinking of a different area.
Through,
one of my favorite areas was like that museum.
You're going through multiple floors, but they've been like ripped open and stuff, and there's a lot of the spider things are all over the place. That level, like from an atmospheric standpoint, but this game turns into a horror game, and it's like, were you expecting, like when I think of Half-Life Alyx, I don't think horror game, and that's kind of what we got here. Now this scene right here, like you're seeing parts of the city and stuff, like outdoors, it's like daytime and stuff like that. Like this is so rare. Most of the game, you're indoors somewhere. You're in some underground thing or going through something, and it didn't seem like you were outdoors very much. Like if you go back to the original, or I mean, you go back to Half-Life 2, City 17, like that was the vibe, man. You talk about vibe. I mean, Half-Life 2 had serious vibe being in City 17 and the oppressive totalitarian kind of a thing that was going on there, and you don't get much of that.
I've got to confess here, I haven't played the previous Half-Life game, so that does have an effect on my perception. But we can mention that. But yeah,
I'm sorry, I will have to remove your gamer card right now. Those games did have tremendous vibe, and that's why, just like the outdoor, the world, like the city, like in this game, you never really experience this city that this is taking place in. You're just going to these very specific like you don't get a feel for the greater world that is going on, and
I think. I think that was also like a big problem for me, maybe because I didn't play the previous ones, and it's a reasonable thing to like criticize me for like, oh, like you can't expect to fully enjoy the game if you haven't played, as part of a series. On the other hand, it is made to be so accessible, and not everyone has played Half-Life Alyx, so I think it would be nice if it did this better. But yeah, for me coming into the Half-Life series, I had a little familiarity with the series, but minimal, and it's like. I never got like a full picture of this world that I'm in. Like I got little bits and pieces, and like I liked the Vortigaunt character, and I liked seeing some little bits of like things hinting at lore. But there was never enough to like give me a real kind of sense of the scope of this world, the feeling of this world. So I think that was a challenge for me as well in terms of the atmosphere and getting really engaged.
But I could play devil's advocate though and say wait a minute, as like we can say all the bad things that we want to say about Half-Life Alyx, but it still belongs on everybody and their mama's top 40 because just from the pure standpoint of graphical splendor and like the quality of I mean this is a quality production. A lot of the things that it does that are played out, you do it over and over again, but when you do it, it's like when you put your hand on the thing and it does all that stuff, like they did some freaking damn good shit here. How can you not put it in your top 40? Actually, wait, let me ask it this way. Are you almost not putting it on your top 40 just out of spite, basically, because you felt like it was such a dropped ball?
I generally, it goes back to your question about expectations and this idea of the big game. I generally am not putting it on my top 40 because that's just how I feel. It's not. I I don't feel any, I feel like I'm relatively in touch with my feelings, and I don't feel any spite towards it. I do like giving attention to smaller games. That's like something I like doing, and I like diverting my attention towards these smaller games. But that's not. I'm not. This top 40 list wasn't designed to do that. I sometimes will make posts on Reddit like, oh, here's some hidden gems that I want to highlight. But this was just generally what impacts me as my top 40. And yeah, why is it like, how can I say that? I mean, it's just, it's a personal list.
So if you were
yeah.
no, I mean, I get what you're saying here, but I just want to ask this. Like, if you, let's say you were like working for a magazine or some kind of journalism type thing, and it was like you were assigned to like determine what the best overall VR games are for like the greater populace out there. So like the top 40 that you made, it's like, well, these are the 40 games that speak to me. And like, I can recognize that Half-Life Alyx is a damn good game. Even though it didn't really speak to me, I can still recognize it's a damn good game, but it just didn't speak to me. And I've got these other 40 that I want to put on this list, and this one just didn't speak to me enough. But if I'm working for like a magazine or something, and I have to come up with the 20 best objective VR games that would appeal to all kinds of other people that maybe aren't necessarily me, would Half-Life Alyx then be in the top 10 in that kind of a situation? I'm just curious.
Possibly. I mean, yeah, it totally depends on like where's this article, like what's this article geared towards. If it's asking what I generally feel are like the most valuable, interesting VR games to me, then no. If it's asking like a more general, like kind of think of like just like a broad populace, and it's like yeah, I know Half-Life Alyx is first of all very accessible. It's great for new VR players, and plenty of veteran VR players love it as well. And I totally recognize the graphical fidelity. It's very well optimized to fit that graphical fidelity on most people's machines, and I don't have like a vendetta against it where I'd be like, oh, we gotta hide this from the public. But I think where I'm coming from, it's like I'm not trying to be pretentious here. Like I'm comfortable with other people having their own foundations, their own kind of things from which they kind of are growing from, them, that they get enjoyment or meaning or whatever it is they're looking for out of the VR games from. But for me, I think whereas the kind of majority of people, they put a high emphasis on production, and I think that kind of it comes out of we live in a world where we're looking at like really things that are very
surface
visible.
level.
We like to
surface
see things that
level,
yeah. Sure, yeah, like things that are very nice to look at, things that are very
shiny.
Shiny, yeah, and I really don't mean to like. I'm not trying. Like I think things that can be shiny can be like awesome, but like I don't put a lot of value. I don't dislike shiny things, but I'm not like I de-emphasize it in my just internally, and so to me like Half-Life Alyx, I didn't connect to it emotionally. I didn't connect to it. I didn't find it to be aesthetically like cohesive to the degree of like Organ Quarter, which has a much lower production value. I didn't find the enemy designs to be as creative as like a game like Organ Quarter. We can like going back to that, it's not a bad comparison as they're both first-person shooters.
They're both horror games.
or first-person.
They're both
games,
horror
and
games.
both kind of have horror elements. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not trying to like put forward a vendetta or like a pretentious kind of air, but it's just that is what connects to me, and it's just I emphasize different things than the majority of people, and that's reasonable to point out that it's not the majority opinion. It's just
no problem. Yeah, it's a personal list, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the celebratory stance, and one of the games that you were celebrating on your list, because like a lot of these games, man, they really speak to me as well, and I've championed a lot of these same games, and one of them is XING: The Land Beyond by White Lotus Interactive.
I love it.
And
Yeah.
you want to talk about atmosphere and vibe. I mean, the
Oh
one
yeah.
thing that I always say about XING is like, this is happiness. For me, it's happiness.
Yeah.
If I turn on XING, like the main, just this early level that you get in, the level that you basically start in, just the music that is playing, and just the way the world looks, and it's sunny,
Yeah.
and the ocean and everything, and then you switch and the moon comes out, and it's like, oh
Mhm.
man. I've told people on my show that there's been times in XING where I went to where the beach area was, and I got down on the ground on my carpet and just sat there on the ground like I was just sitting on the beach, and I was just watching the waves come in.
That's so funny. I have almost the same story. I mean, yeah, actually, it's so interesting they say that because like it's amazing that it brings it out. Because for me, I did the same thing, except well, I did it a couple times. The first time I did it was at a campfire in the game, and there's this. I think one of the first times you light a little bonfire, um, and I was like, wow. And I just wanted to sit down. I just sat down on my floor, and I just sat there for a while and looked around me and just enjoyed the vibe. It's like, and I also remember I tried. This was almost more a mix of curiosity and atmosphere, but there was a little house that had like a bed or like a mat on the floor, and I tried to lie down on my floor, and that there was some element of just like kind of a curiosity to be like, oh, can I lie down on this? How would that feel? But definitely with the fire, and it's so atmospheric, it's so beautiful, and it's like you can almost feel the sensory experience of the place
Yeah,
that you're
and
in.
then the other thing
Uh,
about it too is like it has these little areas, right, that you put seashells and things into, and it's like messages from the universe, that come back to you,
yeah,
almost like a Confucius or something is like talking to you, right, and saying
yeah,
words of
yeah,
wisdom. And I thought that was really good, and it was just like the things that it would say, it was like, it would try to say these like deep meaningful things, and
for
just
sure.
that combined with the vibe, and then combined with the duality of being in these like the sun and the the time of day changing things up with the puzzles, like it's kind of amazing. This is another unfortunate one. I think I've heard a story from White Lotus Interactive where it was before the PlayStation version of the game came out, but they were
Right.
saying that they had some financial problems with this game, and they weren't really sure if they could even
Yeah.
get the PlayStation version out.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because like the VR marketplace is very small. And if a game
Yeah.
for whatever reason, like Arca's Path or like this, if there's a game that somehow it doesn't like get its awareness out there in the right sort of a way where everybody finds out about it, everybody's talking about it, it slips through the cracks, and it might end up with like a
Yeah.
1,000 sales or something. And for a company that's
And
really banging away for years on a game, that's a disaster.
I think that's why it is important to talk about like the degree of emphasis we put on certain things. I'm not trying to be like everyone should be like me and not like the people who like Half-Life Alyx. Like no, people there should be a variety. But I think right now I think it's fair to say there's we go a little too far. We have like almost an obsession with like the way we emphasize certain things, and so you have a game like this that it doesn't have like it doesn't have an immediate like action draw. It's kind of relaxed. It's kind of pleasant, and it just we are missing an emphasis or a recognition of some of those things in our culture. And I'm not here to like push anyone to like change. But I think it's something that's important to talk about and to think about. Like, how can we bring some things into our culture that and enrich it? Like it's not we don't have to push out shiny things. Like I think shiny things are wonderful. We don't have to push out wonderful graphic fidelity or great action. Like, but we can enrich the culture with like just a wider
Yeah,
foundation.
it's like
And
you've got Transformers and you've got District 9.
yeah, yeah, sure, yeah, and yeah. So I think it's such a beautiful game, and it's incredible. It's made I think by three people, from what I understand, which is just like mind blowing to me, and it's like it's a beautiful looking game. We talked about Organ Core, which doesn't have the best visual fidelity. Actually, this one has
it is
gorgeous.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I'm just looking
absolutely
at this
gorgeous.
trailer right now. It's like I want to go back into this right now and play it some more because it is gorgeous. It's a beautiful world. It's an enchanting world, and dude, it's happiness on a stick. I'm telling you, I've never played, like, you could have a really bad mood and you could play XING, and if you just relax and let it, it like relaxes you, and you're just like, it's chill, it's relaxed, it's peaceful here, it feels good here. But yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been keeping track of the chapter. There's a comment here I want to bring in because it'll help me go to what I was going to talk about actually. Someone asked Mr. Hussein X asked if I finished XING, and I did finish XING. And I will say about finishing XING, if you haven't finished XING, I'm going to give you incentive to finish, because I think one of the most beautiful and engage, like, exciting levels areas is unlocked. It's like, how there's like all these side areas, right? There's the kind of the three main stories, and there's all these side ones, and the final side one you unlock is this beautiful stormy environment, and it's, you don't, like, stormier than anything you get. Like in XING, you have these things that trigger like rain and snow and like sunshine and night, which is also like it kind of goes back to the whole idea of like motion and things changing, how that brings it to life. But this area, it's like a really stormy, it's like a really stormy night. It's like this like thunder, lightning, and like pouring rain, and it's like, and you're like by like an ocean with pirate ships.
God
and
damn,
it's just
I need to get back
beautiful.
in this.
So exactly. So that's my incentive to people to, like, if you even if you bought it but you haven't finished it, I totally recommend going through. It's one of the only games I've like 100%.
It's not super easy either. Like, the puzzles get kind of complex out
there.
there.
Yeah, it does get a little. Yeah. I think there's a really nice balance, and for people like worry about that, I feel like the only feedback I've read about it from people is like saying like, oh yeah, they really like the puzzle balance. Like, it's not like super frustrating. It's not super easy, but there are, like, as you get to the end, there definitely are some things that get quite challenging. You have to that might stop you in your tracks. But hopefully.
I wouldn't put it in like because there are some puzzle games that are just crazy easy, and this is definitely not in that category. Like, it does get a little bit more complex as you get into it. But yeah, that's XING. It's incredible. We're huge fans of it. It goes on sale occasionally. It's great, and that it's another one where we hope that as VR gets bigger and bigger, this one does have a little bit of a cult following. People know about this. They rave about it. So hopefully it'll get some more sales in like the long tail, basically.
I gotta say one more thing about it. Like, I can bring this in later in one of the other games, but like, we've barely talked about. I'm a musician, and we've barely talked about music, and this game has like beautiful music, and that's important, I think, for our conversation about atmosphere and vibe. Like it all comes together. It's like you have the aesthetic, the lighting, the world, like everything about the world, the like interesting designs and water flowing and so like life, like it comes to life, and part of it coming to life is the music and the sound. And it's just beautiful music, which is made also by one of the developers. Like, one of the 3 developers also made the music, which is, again, like,
amazing. And when I talk about it generating happiness, it's the music. It's the music in that very first level. Like, that music is just like, it does.
Even when you open the title screen, it's just like, when you open the title screen and like you have the sun go over and the whole lighting like does a rapid change, and you have music swell up, and it's just like, you're ready to play.
Yeah, dude, I'm probably gonna play this after this show is over. I'm gonna go into XING because I went into Arca's path earlier, and I was gonna try to get into XING maybe before we did this show, but I ran out of time, wasn't able to do it. But let's go ahead and bounce to another one. Now this one is not as bright and sunny. We're gonna go back into the world of more dark and mysterious kind of a world. And of course there was a game by a developer called Spectravision, which was this interesting like Hollywood type thing where Elijah Wood and a number of other people got together. They came up with this company called Spectravision because they got a demonstration of like VR and AR, and they thought, oh my God, this is the future of the funk. Let's go ahead and make a development studio, and let's make some incredible VR game. and they did that in with help from Ubisoft, and it's called Transference. And I've played this from beginning to end. I love it. The visuals. You talk about like the color, the neon,
Absolutely.
and like the way things like
Absolutely.
flicker in and out. Like talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, I cannot separate in this game. I cannot separate the visual and the audio. It's like this is like, to me, like just the game to talk about when it comes to like audio visual experience. And I just love, I love that word, audio visual. I love audio visual experiences. And yeah, so like the visual, like just I'll separate for a moment and like say the visual side. Yeah, first of all, it's also one of the crispest, most beautiful games on the PSVR, and also on the PCVR, of course, it also looks even better. But if you're looking for just like a gorgeous game, I played this one once I had the PS4 Pro, and it just is definitely one of the best looking games on that system you can get. But yeah, it's just you have like you said it already, but like, you have all these colors, you have just so much. It's like oozing with light, like things that are like visual sensory experience, and yeah, and it's totally like synergistic with the audio, which is just like amazing. It's every like little glitch, like you have all these little visual glitches in the game, and again it brings all this movement and it brings it to life and it kind of activates your thoughts to like it's like you're always on edge a little bit and you're always like feeling it and it all those like little visual glitches, they have little audio pieces and you have audio whispering in your ear, like different whispers, and it's just such a sensory experience that
Yeah, I like, and the color, the color style of it, like you can just look at all
yeah
the different screenshots for it, and it all has these like hues of where it's like really green or really red or really purple, like the background of the room basically, and then the way
yeah
the things will flicker in and out of reality almost, and then you have like these digital characters that are human size, and it's like a full motion video thing that's playing in front of you, but it's kind of like it's halfway there, it's like flickering, it's like the transmission isn't quite
yeah
perfect, and the way
yeah
they did all of that, the sound quality, the story of this like family and like what was going on and everything, that was kind of interesting
yeah
too. And it was cool how they mixed in actual full motion video on like some of the monitors and
yeah
TVs and stuff, which was done effectively.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta say, I was like, talking about like kind of when we were talking about cynicism regarding Half-Life Alex earlier. Like when I first like saw this on stage, I think at E3 with like Elijah Wood coming out, and I was like, oh, it's like like and like these live action pieces. I was like, oh, this is gonna be like silly and tacky, right? And it's like, but I totally agree. It worked. They nailed it. It's like the live action pieces, they fit. They felt somehow part of this totally virtual space, which actually the space itself, like you were talking about, how all these visual glitches and all these things coming in and out, and it's straddling an interesting line between realism and total kind of non-realism, like total dreamlike kind of horror and like virtual space, and I think that's so cool. It's like
Again,
yeah.
though, on the Debbie Downer side of the coin,
Sure.
what is it about all of these games? Because again, I don't know that this game made its budget back. You know what I mean? Because you think
Yeah, I
about the
don't
big
know.
people that were involved in this game, and I mean, when Elijah,
The production value on this one
very
is
good, and then
quite,
they had
yeah, very
Ubisoft
good.
involved as well. I mean, Ubisoft kind of like
Yeah,
published it and everything. I don't know how all the
yeah,
money played out, but the thing is like Elijah Wood and the people that invested in this company, like if you had gotten a VR demo a number of years ago and you were like, oh my God, this is going to change the world. I mean, I could see a lot of people thinking that, right? They try it, they're like, oh my God, this is going to change the world. And it is going to change the world, but it might be like 20 years from now when it changes the world. So the problem is like these companies are jumping in, they're spending 15, 20 million or something. I mean, I don't know how much it costs to make this thing. Let me just guess, like they spent 10 million on it or something like that.
Sure.
And I don't know that they've made their 10 million back. Even though this is, people like this game, it's sold okay, but for VR, like for a game to, for a more AAA type of game in VR, it's got to have like 80% of the VR population buying it to freaking survive, you know, if it's really a AAA game. And I don't know that this one quite caught that fervor.
Yeah, and I feel like it's so important. Like I brought this up a couple times already, but so to me as an artist, it's so important to talk about these things because like sure, a lot of people are like, oh, but I only need Half-Life Alyx. I don't need games like this, and that's reasonable. But you look at, I think most people would agree that the top kind of movie industry movies, like the Transformers, like they just do sequel after sequel. You know, a lot of people are tired of that now. You know, some people still like them, and that's cool if they enjoy them. But I think there's a shift in balance in terms of like, oh, like we're starting to get tired of this, and I feel like, you know, what happens is it's like we go on the trajectory with our artistic mediums, like from film to video games to VR, you know, part of video games, but also kind of a separate medium, where it's like all the money is going into just like so much focus on just a few kind of particular things, and we really need to build that foundation. And we need to talk about that. We also need, like, there's a lot of aspects that, you know, could use change. I don't think you want me to get too politically here, but we could talk about, like, you know, like just in terms of like how do people get money in this world to like fund their own game, and like people need money to work on these stuff. People need to be able to pay their rent and to keep working on.
It's a shame because you think
like
somebody that busts their ass, like White Lotus Interactive, you know, like some of these companies we've been talking about, right? Like they busted their ass and they delivered. Like they hit a home run, and then they're still not making their money. You know, they're not even making the money back that they invested. Like they might be coming up short, and you think to yourself, well, man, you think that when people really achieve something, like there should be a reward that follows it, and it just seems kind of weird. But you know, the world is a strange world, and sometimes it's like sometimes you'll have, like, hopefully Spectre Vision you know, is still around, and they try again, and you know, I don't know.
They had the support of Ubisoft, so, you know, of all the kind of lesser known games here we're talking about, they probably have a better chance of, like, you know, getting funding again. Yeah, absolutely. It's like I think most people, even if they're like, oh, I don't really like Arca's Path, or I don't really like Transference, I think most people can agree, like, we want to see variety in games. We want to see innovation. We want to see, like, we want to see growth, and to nourish growth, you need to kind of enrich these kind of different, like, it's like a diverse palette, and nourishing a diverse palette will grow different branches, and it's like a healthier ecosystem.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little abstract,
the nice thing too is people can criticize VR, but we have this back catalog. Like I mean, these are just a sample of games that we're mentioning here. But like if somebody's brand new to VR, think of how many experiences they have that are just waiting for them. That, okay, yeah, these games have already been out. They're established. They're a little bit older. They might not have the hype that a brand new game like Medal of Honor has or something. But we've got a lot of great solid VR games that people just don't know.
Absolutely, yeah. Exactly.
But let me go to one now in the Solus project, and this one's interesting here because I've played a tiny bit of this. Whoops, hold on. I think I grabbed I need to get a different trailer. I played a tiny bit of this on PlayStation VR for a minute and then stopped playing it. It was very interesting, but this is like an atmosphere kind of a game. I mean, talk about VR when you're put on like a strange planet and you've got to discover, like, that's what VR is all about, right?
Yeah. This is a really interesting one to me. So the funny thing is, so the first time I booted up this game, I had the most frustrating experience. Like, one of the most frustrating experiences I've ever had in a game. I was like so confused about the controls. I was like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know if you remember when you start up. I was like impressed by the opening sequence, and then like you start up and you're in this little like kind of like almost like a gated crash site, and it's like trying to teach you how to get out of this little fenced area by like learning how to craft this like sharp rock, and I just like for the life of me I could not figure out what it was trying to tell me to do to get out of this thing, and I spent like half an hour like, and I was like, I don't know if this is a glitch. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. I closed it out and then I came back to it. So that was when I had my original PS4, and I got upgraded to the PS4 Pro, which is also recommended for this game. Just it does have like significant PS4 Pro improvements, and it's on PC VR, which of course will look even better if your computer can handle it. And yeah, I booted up again, and I had the same initial frustrations, but then I got out, I got going, started to get comfortable with controls. The first hour I was like not super impressed, but I was like, I'll keep going, and I've heard some interesting things about this game. And as I went in more and more, it's like this is like one of those games. It gets better, like only gets better. Like it just start to finish, it just gets better and better and better for me. Like that's my experience, but I hear everyone who talks about it like says something similar. I find it's just it's a really interesting adventure. It's a really interesting world. There's like just so many, like you talk about. One of the incredible things about VR is going into these spaces that you just could never see in the real world. And there's like spaces like Bound, which are really weird and abstract, but beautiful. And there's spaces like Souls Project, which are like very sci-fi, and they're kind of realistic in a way. Like you have like rock, like things you're familiar with, objects like walls, architecture. But it's like there's like these like alien. I don't want to spoil too much, but there's like these otherworldly things that you start to discover. You can kind of see in the video that's playing, and you see some incredible sights. And
this is another one I want to get
beautiful.
back into now, just looking at it.
Yeah, I would totally recommend it. And like if you spend the first hour and you're like, this is annoying, frustrating, I'm not like super into it, like I just would say like just keep going like another half hour. It's gonna hook you.
That's what I think my problem was, is I was frustrated with like it was just irritating. And I think what I said, because I tried it on PlayStation VR, and I think what I said to myself is like, you know what, I'll just buy this on PC VR. It'll probably play better because like the controllers might work better or something, because sometimes on PlayStation VR, like PlayStation VR does have some limitations from, you don't have actual thumbsticks on the Move controllers. So like in the beginning, that was really hard for developers. I don't know why it was hard, because I thought way back a million years ago, I thought, oh, you just use triangle to walk forward and the other button to walk backwards, and you just aim it and you hit triangle. I mean, yeah, you're sacrificing two little buttons on the face. Big freaking whoop. Big deal. And a lot of games have figured that out, and so we did get Skyrim and stuff. But you know what? Just looking at this trailer and looking at this like strange alien world, and again, it's got to be raining, right? Like part of it.
Yeah, the rain. Oh, it gets you. And
it's like nuclear rain, and then of course you got to have the beautiful stars and multiple moons in the sky and all of those types of things.
It really gets you.
But one of the things I wanted to say about this is, just looking at how beautiful all of that is, and think about this idea where all you're doing is exploring an alien world, and you're basically walking through a place. So you're just walking through a place. I mean, anybody can do this. Any grandma, any mom, any person can just walk through a place. And imagine, as our graphics get more and more photorealistic, as the field of view expands, as our resolution keeps doubling and doubling and doubling, imagine when you're looking at an alien world where, you're looking at the grass and it's just blowing, and it's almost like, because they have these new advanced, there was this Intel thing, I don't know if you've seen it, but they came out with this way to like almost take a photograph of something really high resolution and then feed it into this like neural network that will recreate that type of scene in 3D where it just goes on forever, and you could just walk around this like super highly detailed world. And the only problem with it is it'll do that, but then if you want to have interactive things all around the world, that's a different story. But if you just want to walk in the world,
of course,
if you just want to
sure,
walk,
you can do that.
it could be perfectly photorealistic. And so that might be coming in the not too distant future. But it's just, aren't you amazed that you're living in this incredible time? And you're a lot younger than me, so you're going to see some incredible stuff just in the next, like, how long do you think it's going to take for you to walk through an alien world like this, where when you're looking at everything, you're like marveling at the rock and how detailed the textures are, and like the field of view is just so giant? Do you think it's going to be like another 15 years, 20 years, 10 years? A lot of people have different opinions on this.
You know, I want to say I'll let you know when my Rift S gets replaced by the G2, because that's going to have a nice bump in resolution, and I'll see just how much of a difference that makes. But yeah, I mean, you know, we are getting already pretty close to like these very ultra high resolution, like ability for such high resolution. Like we don't quite, you know, the human vision headset is probably. I'm not like a big like predicting the future kind of person, but like I mean I would guess like 10, 15 years we'll have like a kind of human vision VR headset would be my guess. I'm not sure how wildly crazy that is, or if I might be totally off the mark, but yeah,
no, I mean it's possible.
Idea, but, that's my impression.
It's possible. I mean, it's a difficult thing. It's not, honestly. It's probably easier to make the headset than it is to make the graphics that feed it, almost, unless it's going to be like mostly like you're just walking through worlds and it doesn't have a lot that's actually going on.
Right. No matter how high the resolution, you still have to design the world, and that's going to, you know, that goes back to like funding developers and funding the ecosystem, you know. But yeah, in terms of like just like field of view, resolution, yeah, I would imagine, you know, it might still be very, very pricey in like 10, 15 years, but that's my guess. Is like we'll start seeing that kind of thing.
Yeah, so you know, you mentioned the G2. So you ordered one of those. You're going to be getting one of those at some point?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out. I'm actually about to move. I'm trying to figure out, is it going to arrive? Is it going to arrive in my place before I move or after I move? I might have to cancel and reorder it, but because they haven't said actually when it's going to send out. But yeah, I'll be getting that hopefully. And it sounds great. I don't want to. I don't know how much we want to get into a discussion on like.
No. Actually, well, if you want to talk about it for a minute, because I'm curious. Like, so you have a Rift S right now, and what was your impetus for getting this? Because it does have there's some definitely really nice things about it, but at the same time, one of the things that I haven't been as into with the Reverb G2 is like, I feel like it's definitely an improvement over everything that we have right now, but for me, it's not the leap that I'm looking for, an even further leap, you know what I mean? And so, but is it that resolution? Does it have anything to do with like the news that has come out recently? Because some people are abandoning Facebook. I didn't think I was going to talk about this on this show, because I am going to do a like a regular news episode where I'm going to talk about like news and things like that. But if that's the reason, did you? I mean, that would be. It's possible. Did you order it because of that, or it has nothing to do with that? You had ordered it a long time ago, or what do you think?
I would say a few main reasons. One, to go off what you just said, I made a decision before the most recent, you know, announcement of the you know, increased Facebook presence in the Oculus ecosystem. But I was already kind of like feeling that about Facebook. It's like I'm not thrilled, you know, to try and be true to what I've been talking about. Like, I believe in trying to, you know, expand an ecosystem. And right now, Facebook is like this huge, not only monopoly, but also, I have a little funny thing. If you go into Wikipedia and look at the criticisms of Facebook page, it's like you scroll on forever. It's like there's so many, like Facebook is you know, there's I think some real reasons to be concerned. Like, it's like there's this person at the helm who you don't know he's not your friend. Like, you don't know who he is, and there's just so much control in his hands. Like he's deciding so much about how you're interacting with the world around you, and that in addition to the privacy concerns.
Well,
And
yeah, I mean,
so
you
so
can.
I definitely
Yeah,
I'm not
no,
like
Facebook as a
yeah
company, all you have to do
yeah
is just
yeah
consider the fact that, I mean, this is just the truth. Their business
yeah
model is basically like stirring up outrage, and I mean, that's their
right
freaking business
right
model, and they
yeah
have such a wide reach. Like you could just think about what's gone on in this country in the last couple of years, and in
yeah
terms of like how divided we are and everything, where it's almost
yeah
how much of that do you blame Facebook? I mean, they might get like 20,
yeah
30% of that blame, and that sounds ridiculous,
talk
but
talk
I'm not
about
even joking.
yeah yeah talking about world design. Facebook is like designing a portion, not a not insignificant portion of our world. It's like it's like living, it's like an authoritarian like system, like in a like it's somewhat contained, but it's not very contained.
Yeah, the power
Yeah.
the
So
power they
oh
have
yeah,
is
go ahead.
kind of like you think about it, the first people that were running newspapers and stuff, like when the printing press,
Yeah.
like that's the kind of power that Facebook has. Like they have unlimited power in this new little digital world that the government has no idea how to rein this power in yet, and they're
Yeah.
and the thing is, it's hard to blame Facebook though, because like if you're a I mean, it sucks that that's how they butter their bread, is with like basically
Sure.
causing people to raise their blood pressure pretty much and just get into arguments with other
Sure.
people. And it engagement, it's just engagement, it's the human
Yeah, I
condition,
mean,
you know.
they're insensitive. Well, this could be a whole different conversation, but I think the human condition can be a lot of different things, and we're very one of the incredible things about us is that as humans is that we have this capability to learn and do new things, and even if something is like quote unquote organic to us or natural to us, we can learn to do things differently. And not everything that's like comes easy to us or comes like is what's good, so to speak, or healthy maybe is a better word. And yeah, like Facebook is absolutely they're incentivized to get this like maximize engagement because they're incentivized to make as much money as they can. And yeah, I mean, I think like our system that we're in, like it's really like capitalism. It really pushes that trajectory. Like it puts a lens on just a specific set of concepts, and we talk about like nourishment and like an ecosystem. Like it capitalism is nourishing like a few species of trees, and all the others are kind of like left to kind of be stunted. And I definitely think we should take a serious question of like what kind of system can we build that's like more iterative, more diverse, more and really nourishes human beings. So yeah,
I mean, I think,
it's a
yeah,
whole other
for
conversation,
me
but
the problem is,
definitely relates to Facebook. I
for
think
me the problem I think but it's not just Facebook, it's all these companies. It's like
absolutely
think of,
right, and they're all incentivized by the
yeah,
same
well,
system.
think about,
So
like, think of the little phone games that they have for kids that basically creates gambling for little kids. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely, like the blue
yeah,
box thing,
yeah, exactly.
the absolutely,
And
yeah,
all of
yeah,
that, like in the bottom line, it comes down to, it's a greed thing, right? And like if you're just going to have unlimited greed, and then people look at human, like the way the human brain works, and it's like manipulation of the human brain, and it's manipulation of deep rooted human tendencies, in different aspects.
right,
Like Facebook, see, we've been wired as humans to survive. We perceive threats, and so
sure,
our
yeah,
brains are more focused on threats than they are happy things, because threats can kill us. And well, in the old days they
yeah,
could, like, I mean, 1,000 years ago. And so,
sure, yeah. So we
yeah,
evolved from that, yeah,
and then so if you have all these algorithms that are basically taking advantage of that, but that's a whole nother story. Let's go back to the video game
yeah,
world.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Right. So all right. So I'll say. So I'm not like it's not the definitely not the only reason I'm moving from FDES to G2, but I'm not unhappy to be leaving Facebook. I'm not in love with HP, but I probably prefer them a little bit over
Quick
Facebook.
question though.
But
Here's
then
a question
oh
about
yeah,
the
yeah,
whole
yeah,
G2 thing, because now that you added G2, see another thing too is
yeah,
you upgrade to a G2. You're talking
yeah.
2160 by 2160 per eye.
Right.
That's a lot
So
of
that's the
resolution. Are you also going to be getting one of these new graphics cards? And
that's a very good
did you
question.
just hit the lottery?
No, I did not. I'm in a kind of weird financial situation where I'm very minimalist. I don't have a lot of money. I make my money as barista, but I have some privilege coming from my growing up, and I'm not. I'm in a stable position. I definitely have to watch my money very carefully, but I'm okay. I can spend a little. I'm more fortunate than most people, many people in this country. So
So you're able to
so
splurge a little bit. So
I'm able to splurge a little. So I'm right now I'm on the 2070 RTX 2070. I can stick with that for the G2. That's within the full resolution. First of all, you can also bump it down to half resolution, and then but then you're more like the Rift S. But in theory, I'm like in the range for like operating most games on full resolution. I'm really into No Man's Sky, and No Man's Sky already has a little title running on my system. So if I want to run No Man's Sky on the G2, I'm guessing I'm going to have to bump it up a little if I want to run it really smoothly. So I'm definitely thinking about upgrading my graphics card. I'm not really sure yet. Yeah, it's a whole other question. But yeah, so definitely the resolution was another reason that. So that's one of the big reasons that I was like, this looks really cool. And I was watching the videos. I don't know if you're like familiar with MRTV's YouTube
yeah, yeah.
channel. I was like watching his through the lens videos, and I was like, I was like thinking like, am I just like falling? Am I just falling for shiny things? It's like, am I just falling for shiny things, or am I? But it looked so good, and I guess the second thing that's very related is on top of the resolution, it also seems to have much better colors and like the display that he was talking on MRTV. He was talking about this, and it looked to me from looking through the lens footage, the display looked like the colors were more vivid. And when I went from PSVR to Rift S, I it's all anecdotal, and I've heard other people say this though, he was talking with I was going from OLED to LCD, although HP is also LCD but higher quality. Yeah, the colors on the PSVR I think are much more vivid and present. And the Rift S has a higher resolution from the PSVR, but I really did feel like there was just I'm still enjoying games on Rift S. Don't get me wrong, but I did feel like there's kind of just duller display area. So I'm hoping that that is true to experience when I try the
Well,
G2. And there's a slightly bigger field of view as well, which is kind of more on par with the PSVR also, which I
yeah,
came from when the Rift S was like a little tunnely.
one nice
Yeah.
thing about the G2 as well is going to be your audio, like
Yeah,
that built-in
yeah,
audio. Because I have a Valve Index, and the
yeah.
audio, that is a huge thing, especially in the summer. I don't know if it's hot where you are, but like. It's nice to not have something on top of your ears, because it's
I'm moving to Austin, so it's gonna be
yeah,
hot.
it's
It's gonna be hot as well.
and so it's a little
Yeah,
bit cooler though when you have like the Valve Index type thing where it's floating off of your ear and the sound is so
yeah, yeah,
good. It's amazing how good they get the
yeah.
sound out of that. So when you get it, are you absolutely 100% sure that, like, is there any chance that maybe it doesn't work out for you? Have you ever had a problem where you like got a VR headset and it like didn't work out for you for some reason? Like for me, I have a problem with my IPD. I got a Rift
Mhm.
S, and what do you call it? I had a Rift S, but for me, I had it for about a week or so, and I ended up sending it
With
back
IPD trouble.
because, well, the
Yeah,
field of view, because I have my IPD is 70, 71, so I'm like way out there on
right.
the
That's
periphery,
a
right?
little higher.
And it
Yeah,
seemed like my
yeah.
field of view was like squeezed in, because the native IPD is, I think,
Uh-huh.
like 63.5 or something like that.
Yeah. I didn't have any headsets like I returned like I bought the PSVR, I kept it. The Rift S I bought, I kept it. I did have the notorious issues with Rift S when I first got it. My cable was like not functioning properly. They sent me a new one that was much better. But no, unfortunately my IPD fits with that Rift S. So like yeah, it works for me. The Rift S. It's comfortable for me. Yeah, if if I get the HP reverb and the G2 and it's like something's off about it, it's not comfortable for me or something. Comfort matters a lot to me. Also, I would say. Then I think it's going to be a popular headset. I figure out I can worst case scenario I can sell it almost at cost or at cost if it's brand new, and then I'll rebuy the Rift S or something. But or maybe I was actually like, man, I wish they were still making the Odyssey Plus because that might be what I rebought if I went back. When I first got the Rift S, I was thinking, oh, maybe I should have got the Odyssey Plus when it goes on sale, but because it was going for $250, but now they're not selling it, I don't think.
Hey, so real quick, since I got you, I mean, we're pretty much going to be wrapping up here, and maybe I'll have to have you on again because we had a bunch more games we are going to talk about. But we could save it for another discussion at some point. But
absolutely.
Carrie MGVR in chat says, ask him if he's going to get a Quest 2. So I don't like. So you tried the Quest temporary, like you tried the Quest for a little while, but it obviously didn't do much for you at some point because you got rid of it. But
no, the story with the Quest is that I won the Quest in a competition.
Oh, wow.
I was very lucky. I won the Quest in a competition. I got it. I tried it for 2 or 3 weeks. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, although it was a little uncomfortable for me, and I am sensitive to comfort. But actually, the reason I don't have it is because I wanted to send it along to a partner of mine. So I sent it along to that partner, and now he has it, and I will be reunited with the Quest when I move. So
okay,
so I will have
it's just temporarily. So yeah. So you have it, but it's just in another location, basically. Have you heard about this?
Exactly,
this
new one.
Well, it belongs to him, but
this new one that that might be coming out. There's all these rumors and everything, obviously, and the newest rumor actually is that the price is going to drop as well. That this thing is going to be, there's going to be a $299 version. There's going to be a $399 version, and possibly vastly improved comfort. Which the one thing I have a Quest back there, and I've got like a Franken mod and the whole thing. And
I did that whole thing when I put like a weight on the back. It was much better once I added the weight and everything. But it was still just.
Even then,
it's like 900 grams.
Even after all of that, I still feel like I can only use it for about 45 minutes.
Exactly.
But it's much more better for the 45 minutes. But this thing, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's a lot more comfortable. Would there any thoughts that you might grab one of these if you find out that it is considerably more comfortable? And does it bother you that you're going to have to like do this Facebook thing, or do you possibly have like an extra Facebook account you don't give a F about anyway? Or like me, I mean, I got a regular Facebook account that I put on here. I don't really go on Facebook at all, and I don't really care. Like, you can have your name hidden and stuff. Yeah, you're like giving into the evil corporation, but there's so many, like, if we get into like what companies are evil and we can't buy products.
We can't. Yeah. I'm not into making people feel guilty about buying their Rift S or Quest. No, like, I get it. People, I think there's a value in like holding on to holding on to like a certain element of kind of like, I don't want to buy this because it's not comfortable to me, like not physically, but just like but I'm not like, I don't think people should feel guilty if they're like, oh, this is the headset that works best for me and this is the headset I want. I mean, I understand that's why it's more of a systemic issue. It's not like an individual person. Like, we can't be holding every consumer responsible for buying the headset that works best for them. So I'm interested in it. I don't think I'll be buying it just because I have to budget. It's not super appealing because of the Facebook thing, and I'll have access to the Quest once I move, and so I do have to budget carefully. I'm not like out here ready to buy every new headset. So I don't expect to buy it. But
do you think there's any chance it would have any kind of like special thing that it did where it would almost make you jealous of it? Like
I mean, I was jealous of the hand tracking with the Quest, so it wouldn't surprise me. I'll be like, oh man, I wish I had that.
Or do you think that would be a really dumb idea for them to do it? Do you think it'd be a dumb idea for them to for them to add some kind of improvement, because then it would create like haves and have-nots?
I mean, I guess it depends what kind of improvement. I definitely think, I imagine they're trying to build a ecosystem that is like not fractured. So I would imagine there's not. I would guess they wouldn't add anything that's like a feature that like really fractures the ecosystem or the development platform in terms of like, oh, now we have to develop for the Quest 2 and not the Quest. I think that would be probably a huge mistake, and I doubt they would do anything like that. But then again, with Facebook, they might be trying to like push the headset. But I don't think they would do that. But not go that far. But I just don't think it would work. But yeah, there might be some little new features. I would guess there would be improved hand tracking. I don't think it'll be like new it'll be hand tracking still, but I would guess it'll be improved hand tracking.
Slightly improved, yeah. I think they could slightly improve it, because like one of the things I've noticed with my Quest is in this room, I don't have any windows in this room, and even though I got like lights all over the damn place, for some reason it's like for hand tracking to work really, really, really good, you almost need ambient light coming from outside.
Interesting.
And so I don't get perfect hand tracking, but I would imagine like when we have future iterations of the Quest. See, I don't see this thing being the Quest 2. There's some people that think this is going to have like all new processors and it's going to do all kinds. I don't think so. I think it's basically.
I don't think so either. Yeah, I don't really know, but yeah, I agree with your assessment. I think we'll find out in like a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah,
probably.
yeah, it's coming.
The Facebook Connect.
It's coming very soon. Yeah, so we'll see what happens, but. Noam, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show, and we were able to talk about a lot of wonderful games with incredible atmosphere, and there's a bunch that we didn't even get to. Like we were going to talk about like Static and a whole bunch of other games, but we didn't get to all of them. But yeah, we covered.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah,
it was cool. I saw your thread. I thought, this would be interesting to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that likes a lot of the same stuff that I like, and we could just kind of vibe out and have a little love fest.
I hope I delivered.
So that was cool. Thanks.
I'm so bad at plugging myself. Can I plug my channel?
Yeah. Let me.
My YouTube channel. I've been creating for like the past 10 years on my YouTube channel, and I don't make any money on it right now because it simply doesn't reach the threshold of subscriber base and viewer count. But I work hard on my art. I'm very proud of it. I make some art that's very strange. I make VR related stuff. I make totally unrelated VR stuff. I make music. I make piano. I record my piano. I use a piano back there. I record my piano. So if you want just a assortment of creative projects to explore, my channel. I think you have like a link or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's right here. I got it. Highlight notes, and I'll go ahead and put the link in the show notes, and also.
Actually, one of the games we didn't talk about, I just put a video.
Oh yeah,
11:11.
And Synthesis Universe, you were mentioning that one as well.
Yeah. I did a little video. I did a little video for Museum of Other Realities. That's like some of these videos like some I've done a few reviews like. I usually my videos are mostly kind of non-traditional, I guess you could say, but like the Museum of Other Realities video is more of like just an art experience that I made using the footage from my experience.
Hey, real quick before
strange videos.
Before we get out of here, just because you're into music and you're into VR, what do you think about music in VR? Like do you think
everyone should immediately download, whether you're a musician or not? Everyone should go. It's free. I'm not affiliated with this company. It's completely free right now. I think that they're like doing early access. They'll probably charge for it at some point. But I got to beta test it a little bit, and I've been playing it. Virtuoso. It's on.
This one right here.
Everyone should get Virtuoso. It's accessible. It's got lots of things that can improve still, but it is really a wonderful music tool. There's two music tools I really like in VR. One is Virtuoso right now, and one is Transient, which I also bought. And Transient is the other one that's a little less. Transient is less accessible, but also a little more feature rich. But yeah, both of them. Virtuoso. Like I'm in the Discord for it, and I see people saying like, I've never made any music before, but I was able to make this beat, and they post it, and it like sounds really nice, and like it's a great, wonderfully designed tool, I think, and lots of room to grow, but it's free, and yeah, I think everyone should just download it, and if they feel like trying it, then we'll try it.
Yeah, okay, cool. Well, that's your channel. That is Highlight Notes, so be sure to go ahead and check that out on YouTube. And thanks again, Noah, man. I definitely appreciate you coming on. It was a spur of the moment type thing. Like, yeah, it's rare that like I would just message somebody out of the blue and they'd be like, "Yeah, cool, I'll do it." But you know,
That's really
it's
cool.
this,
That's really thoughtful, and I
yeah,
appreciate
it's
it.
this modern world that we're in. We're able to do this, and we can share ideas, and that's super cool that we're living in this modern age, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, guys.
Thank you. Thanks to the audience for sticking around.
Absolutely. People in chat and everything like that. All right, guys. Well, that's going to go ahead and do it for this episode of VR365, and I will see everybody next time. Take it easy, everybody.